Okay, I've started recording. It is 7:02, and this is the August 16th, 2021 meeting of the Wellfleet Affordable Housing Trust Board of Trustees. Meeting's being conducted by Zoom video conference in accordance with the open meeting law. Instructions for joining are in the agenda posted on the town website. The meeting is being recorded by the town. Anybody else desiring to record the meeting may do so only after notifying the chair and may not interfere with the conduct of the meeting in so doing. With that said, first agenda item is announcements and public comments. Anyone? Okay, seeing none. Next is status reports on housing related activities, and there have been a bunch of them. Just one that you may or may not be aware of is CDP is trying to set up a regional housing funding group, and they have scheduled a meeting tomorrow at 4 p.m. An initial meeting to discuss that, which I will attend. Don't know what the plan is. And on 95 Lawrence Road, we received, I think, 3 very complete proposals. I spent the afternoon reading all 3 of them, well, most of all 3 of them. And we're gearing up to evaluate them starting at 10 o'clock tomorrow morning. And the only other thing is, I know that on the 11th, the Housing Angels program went off, and perhaps somebody who was there can update us on that. That was the day after I got back, and I was pretty much exhausted. So
Harry, I'd like to just clarify. You said tomorrow morning is the beginning of the evaluation of the proposals.
Yeah.
I thought it was Wednesday.
It was changed. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is it?
I think it is tomorrow at 10. Wednesday at 10. No.
Wednesday at 10.
Oh, that means I can go sailing tomorrow.
Yes, go.
It tides high at 8, and I thought I might not get back in time.
Yeah. Yeah, there were Rebecca has some conflicts and so made some changes. So our first meeting will be Wednesday at 10.
Oh, wonderful.
Oh, good. That's great to have that response.
Other housing related news.
I think Sharon should give the report on the Housing Angels program.
But we're not there yet, are we?
Yeah, I think Mary just mentioned it.
All right.
We're on number 2.
So it was a really lovely evening, and we had a good turnout. Not like, it wasn't mobbed, but it was very nice. And I think, in retrospect, there's things I would do differently, but I really enjoyed the stories and the musical performances, and I think everybody left with a very good feeling, and hopefully a little more understanding of the housing issue. I left there and I went to Fox and Crow, and I got an earful from one of the staff there about how she was just told she was going to lose her housing, and it made me realize we maybe should have said something about all the people who aren't here because they're renting and they're working 3 jobs to pay for their rent, and many of them are in peril of losing their place and with no other place in sight. So that was we didn't go there, but it was a lovely event, and I think overall some good money was raised, although as we know, it's like having a bake sale for the space program, like they used to say. imagine we could like fund the space program with bake sales instead of elementary schools. And it's a drop in the bucket, but maybe the awareness will be greater than whatever funds we could raise. And so I guess according to Elaine, we raised $10,000. And
actually, it's more than that now. I received an email today that said we have an additional $5,000 donation coming.
oh, great.
So I think it will be more like, anyway, we'll see what happens, but somewhere between 13,000 and 15,000. So
I'm really hoping that we raised a little bit of a thought in people's minds that, oh, there's a housing buy down participant right now looking for a house, and I happen to have one. That's my goal. But
yeah, there was an article a few weeks back in the Washington Post about Ketchum, Idaho, and one of the quotes in there was, if you live in Ketchum, you either have 3 houses or 3 jobs.
Mhm.
yeah, that's
So true.
right.
That's really true. Yeah.
you were
Well,
in the audience, Kathleen. What did you think?
Yeah, my feeling, Sharon, is it was a huge success. I think you are downplaying it way too much. I think you and Susan did a fabulous job. It was a wonderful evening. It was nice to see the mix of people that were there. I thought the people that spoke were so genuine and spoke from the heart. If you weren't moved by that, you have a heart of stone. I thought it was fabulous. And I think every person we can affect, and it's like, and I told 2 friends and they told 2 friends. I mean, it was something that never existed until now. I thought it was amazing.
Well, I think the awareness raising is really the more important job than the fun.
I think the awareness raising, and I think the bridge building between the people that have the 3 houses and the people that have the 3 jobs. And I think this was a perfect event to do exactly that.
Right.
I think we have to think about how do we capitalize on all the good feeling. I agree with Kathleen. I thought it was a very successful. I mean, it's the first time we did anything like this. We had just under 100 people, and we raised some money, and I think we raised a lot of consciousness. And I, for one, was really struck by Gary Joseph's story, self-help home building, and I really think that it's a program we have looked at from time to time. USDA has not wanted to do it again, but is there a way we can do something like that ourselves? And I think it's an idea worth pursuing, because I think you're right, is that what we have to deliver is home ownership opportunities for working folks.
I also thought that Elizabeth and Jason's story, I mean, who is that housing angel that is funding that? That is something this town could do. There are plenty of people that have enough money to front a purchase for someone that needs more time to get a mortgage. And I think that sort of information should be spread out within our community. I thought that was fabulously creative and amazing, and just a terrific different avenue that I never even considered.
Cool.
Yeah, I think that everything Sharon wanted it to do really happened. It's hard when you're the organizer to kind of take it all in and say, yay. But I feel, I did not recognize a lot of people in the audience. So I think we got through to some people that we don't know. I know we got through to some of the neighbors on my road that didn't know, and one of them wired $1,000 donation today. I picked up $1,500 more in donations today. One that brought a check to my back door. So I think it has ripples. I think the people that were there really heard it and thought about it. The priest from St. James the Fisherman talked to me and how much she wants them to embrace this effort. So
was good.
And I think bringing people together for a fun way to communicate a message was perfect.
So clever.
We have a number of angels to thank. Susan Spear was amazing, even though she couldn't be there, and I'm so sad. And Stephen was just great.
Did a wonderful job. Yes.
Yes,
Both of them.
I told Sharon he's thinking about next year already.
Excellent, because that was going to be my suggestion. Is this has to be an annual event.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, Susie Nielsen from Farm is like all about next year, like housing art and housing gallery, and really she couldn't do it this year because I was too late getting to her, but so maybe it's a movement.
I did receive a email exchange today, Sharon, that someone who took 3 of your buttons and is sending it.
Yeah. Did she send a check?
She said she's dropping it off at Town Hall this week.
Okay, good, because
We'll look for
you know, trust is a wonderful thing, but
We extend
actually,
credit.
you know, you mentioned we have to have a better way for accounting for these activities for buttons. And I was a little dismayed, Harry. I went into Town Hall with the checks from the event, to make sure they were going to the new trust. And I'm not 100% sure whether that is true and whether all the donations before that have gone into the new trust. So again, it's something we have to pursue.
Yeah, that's I guess next item on the agenda. Any other status reports? Elaine?
I do want to say that on Friday, we closed on our 7th buy down.
yay!
So we have a new affordable home in Wellfleet and a new homeowner with a home that will be affordable in perpetuity. And based on our votes at the last meeting, we're now working on our 8th buy down.
Elaine,
That's great.
Do we have what realtors, like, have they been hooked up with a realtor to work with?
They have hooked up with Mandy Robinson.
Okay, good.
And I actually had a question for you, Kathleen, that I'll do offline.
Okay.
About that.
And one of the things that we should consider, because there's a little bit of a learning curve for the realtor to get up to speed with everything that has to be done. Sarah and Amy are willing to do it again. So we should kind of, as we get people in the spirit of what they need to do, then we can just like cycle through them. But that's great. Good news.
One other thing on the Elaine, anything else that you want to add? Elaine? No. So a question was raised. We still don't know because of the uncertainty of the budget numbers, how much CPC money we have to award. And I guess they're now aiming towards a December town meeting as opposed to a December. There was a notice that went out to that effect. But my question is this. We the trust had approved submission of a CPA request to fund another buy down in the amount of $210,000. And we submitted that request and it will be considered on Wednesday. In the proposals for 95 Lawrence, they talk about CPA money and they actually name figures in the amount of $400,000 and $500,000. So now that we have that other buy down going forward, do we still want to submit that with both the request for 95 Lawrence and the uncertainty of the CPA funds?
We can put that on our next agenda, maybe.
Well, it's Wednesday, so we should.
Yeah.
So I'm just saying we should, if we want it to go forward.
So Gary, are you concerned just that you don't think the funding is there, so you don't want to dilute what we're asking for?
And I know that there's a big ask coming down the line, if not this year, then next.
I always think you don't get if you don't ask. So
Sure,
my feeling is we are constantly checking ourselves on this group. We don't need to check ourselves. We need to ask and be checked if we get too greedy. So
Right,
I say ask.
Yeah, let me ask this question, Gary. If the application goes forward and the CPC approves the funding, do we have the flexibility if it turns out to be, to create a problem for another project that we care about to decline the award?
Well, Harry, that gets tricky. So,
Okay.
So first, let me go out. But there is another major request that has come in. People may not be aware of it, for a playground for the elementary school. And that's a request in excess of $300,000.
Mm-hmm.
So we don't know how much money. So all of these are subject to availability. But then if we approve it, we the CPC, and then we the selectmen and we the voters of the town, then when we say we're going to change our minds, we could do that, but we're sort of going against all of those opinions, all of those affirmations, assuming it gets approved. So theoretically, I think the answer is yes. Practically, I'm not so sure what we should do, Harry.
Okay.
Guys, I'm sorry, I'm gonna have to jump off for a second because I'm losing power on my iPad, so I'll be right back.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't require us to do anything. I'm just raising the concern that's going
But at this stage, the CPC votes to make the award, but am I correct that nothing really happens until a town meeting acts on that? So between now and December, if we realize that that's a problem, can we say, oh, never mind, without creating a lot of collateral damage?
Right. Harry, we haven't done it, but I suspect we could do it. I believe the answer is yes.
If I may.
Go ahead, sure.
And my only reason to be here is a liaison to the FinCom, and I'm new to the FinCom. And my goal, frankly, is to assist in any way I can, any coordination between your committee and FinCom. So I want to be sure that I understand, and I meant to be quiet, but it doesn't work for me. The C is what? If I may, I hate to. What is the CTC?
Oh, I'm sorry.
CPA, so Mo, the town has a fund that's is part of the override on your real estate taxes, that 3%.
Okay.
And it also, a component of it is a match, not 100% match, but a significant match from the state.
Okay.
And it raises $200,000 a year-ish. So $250,000 a year. Excuse me, what am I saying? It raises $600,000 a year between the real estate and the state match. And we generally award those once a year. When there is a fall town meeting, it raises the opportunity for us to have another round of grants, and it can only be used for four areas, and that is housing, historic, recreation, and open space.
Thank you so much. Sorry to interrupt.
There's a committee representing various groups in town that reviews the applications and makes recommendations.
Thank you again.
But can I just, Mo, it's the CPA, the Community Preservation Act.
I'm sorry, yeah.
Yeah.
And CPC is the committee that administers, the Community Preservation Committee that administers the CPA money.
It's interesting. I talked, John Wolf, our candidate for select board, asked to talk to me about affordable housing, and he did not know what CPA was. Right. So, you know, it's really, you know, we're so deep into the weeds that there are a lot of people that aren't quite aware of it.
Maybe we need to do a better job of outreach at the CPC. But anyway. So I think it's something we could potentially do, Harry, between now and then, if we chose to do it.
My inclination would be to just leave the application in, because
that's fine.
You know, we have the ability to withdraw it without creating a controversy if it's necessary. Related to that is the whole issue of the trust's finances. And Gary and I met with Charlie Sumner and Lisa Sauvé back July 26th, I think it was. And what we learned was that they still were not at a state of accounting certainty to be able to tell us how much money was in the former Affordable Housing Trust, and therefore how much could be transferred to us. But it was clear that that balance, whatever it is, and we think it's about $195,000, I think, is still not something that we have access to. And it's not clear how quickly that situation will be resolved. You know, it would be nice if the donation situation was resolved, so we would have some funds for, you know, other things that, you know, small ticket items that we do. But I don't really have anything more to report on that, other than that we did have that meeting. We tried to make clear our need to not only know what the balance is, know how much of that money was from Community Preservation Act funds that was therefore,
if I go up here, I'm in.
Encumbered, and how much of it was unrestricted, you know, donations and so forth. So we're still kind of really very uncertain about what we have. I did sign that day the grant agreement for the $500,000 that was voted at town meeting. It was still awaiting town administrator's signature. But I think that and in fact, I'm going to ask you, since I did it without any real authority to do it, I was going to ask if you would consider voting to ratify my action in signing the agreement to accept that grant.
So moved.
Okay.
Second.
That was Jim. Okay, well, so the motion is to ratify the action of the chair in accepting the $500,000 CPC grant from that was approved at town meeting. Any discussion? Okay, roll call vote. Kathleen?
Aye.
Jim?
Aye.
Elaine?
Aye.
Gary?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. I think Sharon is still not with us. So that's 4. Who am I missing? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5.
Mike
Sorry.
is missing.
Yeah, okay. So that's 5 to nothing. And here comes Sharon back in.
Harry, from that meeting, we were told that there were there was in this calendar year, $83,000 of donations into the trust. And then that would be added to the money that we raised at the Housing Angels. So it's got to be close to $100,000 of unrestricted funds. And that would not include any past donations, but that just this year.
Right. But the acting accountant was clear that she had not journaled the transfer of the old affordable housing balance to this trust. So that issue is still in the wind. And that's all I have on account balances and finances. And the next item I put on the agenda was CPA grant agreements, and we've already dealt with the one that I signed.
It's charging, but I don't know.
The goal, now we have, I think that's Sharon, maybe.
Recording in progress. Recording in progress.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
Okay. I think you're in there twice. I hope she's gone again. What I was, the reason I put that on was at some point I'd like to know what CPA grants are tied to what funds, so we can be sure that anything we spend will be spent in accordance with the grants. So again, that's still kind of out there and not really addressed. So that's continues to be a work in progress.
Do we expect that when they figure out what's going on with those funds that they're going to give us that information, or they're just going to release the funds to us and then we're going to figure it out?
I asked whether they were going to provide, and I'm going back on when I was town administrator, once a month, every department got basically a ledger of what they had spent and what remained in their appropriations. And so I asked if that was going to be the practice, and they said, in effect, they said yes. So at some point, we'll have recurring current information about what funds are available and what we've encumbered and so forth. We just don't yet.
Great.
So that's still, and I guess that's going to make the audit really easy because we haven't been able to get our hands on any money. Let's see. Anything else on CPA grant agreements, applications, funding, CPA related stuff? No. Okay. Next item is Mass Housing Partnership Technical Assistance Grant. And I think the only thing to report is that the next meeting of that scoping committee is next Wednesday. So there really hasn't been any activity since we last met.
I think we're supposed to have goals and objectives or strategies for that meeting.
We did adopt the mission statement at the last meeting. Right. So we did that part, and I still need to communicate that to them. And we did discuss the strategies and tasks. Do you think we need to do more on that, Elaine?
Well, I wonder if that meeting, we can just look at those strategies and tasks and work out those goals and objectives with Shelley. Because I know I've had trouble trying to devote myself to looking at that. So maybe we can do it all together.
Yeah, we've got 300 pages of RFPs to read, RFP responses to read too.
Do you want hard copies by any chance, Harry? I have a set.
They are useful to mark up. So I suppose there's a value to that, although I hate to see 300 pages of paper stacked up. That's almost a ream of paper. Why don't I just...
Do you have them already printed, Elaine?
Yeah, you didn't want a hard copy.
Yeah, I just was reading them, making notes for myself, but
Yeah, no,
I didn't want to.
They sent us 8 hard copies.
Okay.
So
Well,
we have
if
one
there's
left.
one available, I'll take it.
Okay. Do you want me to drop it on your doorstep?
If you can get past the pumpkin patch. Back door. You can get to the back door.
Okay.
Anything else on the technical assistance grant? Okay, the next item is the Payne Hollow Road escrow request. And again, I still don't have a document, so we really don't have anything to talk about. So no action. 90 Freeman Ave. Am I supposed to be doing an RFP for that?
We don't know.
I don't know.
I think we looked at everything and said that's what we need to do.
Mm-hmm.
Uh-huh.
Elaine, I think at the Housing Authority, Sarah was going to look at it and come back.
This was going to look too, but.
Right, but if Harry would like to take that on, we have the last one we did. And
yeah, I assume that
send it to you.
Most of that is boilerplate. You just have to
exactly.
change it to be property specific. If you can deal with my typos, I'm happy to take that on.
That'd be great.
Elaine, do you want to do that or you want me to?
Yeah, because I think right now I have Attorney Freeman's emails about what needs to be done, but I don't have the actual RFP itself, the old one.
The last one that we did, Harry, was for 2082 State Highway, now Durkee Lane. I can send that to you.
That would be fine.
We were hoping to, maybe put it out in conjunction with potentially that for Habitat House issue being settled, but they've put that off till April 2022 now, the trial for that.
I see. Okay. On National Seashore Land Swap parcels, I haven't done anything on that, and mainly because I know the selectmen were discussing with the seashore swaps that were necessary to advance the Herring River Restoration Project, and I don't know what was left over. I do know, I think the Park Service had their eyes on the landing strip property as something they'd like to acquire. And so, that may no longer be available. So I didn't, I don't know.
Acres?
Yeah, the issue with that is their surveyor in 1961 or whenever they did those land acquisition tracts took the dimensions off the deed and plotted it. And the dimensions don't reach the Old Kings Highway. So he showed it as landlocked. Now, I can tell you to a certainty that when you're interpreting the intent of a deed, calls for monuments take precedence over bearings and distances. So when the deed says bounded on the west by the Old Kings Highway, that's where the property goes to. And I've had that discussion with the Park Service more than once, and they continue to apply the wrong rule and say it's landlocked. And then it's further compounded by Old Kings Highway has been cut off at either direction beyond that. So even if it fronted on Old Kings Highway, it's on a segment of Old Kings Highway that's been chopped off from the public road at both ends. So I think their position is that it's not developable land, it's assemblage. So instead of being worth $250,000 an acre, it's worth $2,500 an acre.
They would say that.
Gary?
Yeah, Harry, I don't know if it's in the nature of a land swap, but I think if they're having a discussion, maybe we should get if there is a request, this would be the time to get it in as part of the discussion. But would it be possible for the park, we own the 3 acres of town-owned land adjacent to the COA.
Yep.
It's in the seashore.
Yep.
Can they take it out of the seashore and therefore take all the restrictions off of it?
I think that would, there are a couple of possible ways to deal with that. One of them is to swap that parcel for a parcel that is on the boundary of the seashore, and then get Congress to redraw the seashore boundary to exclude it. Both solutions require an act of Congress, literally.
Yeah. So no is the answer.
So no, the only thing we can do with that is say, municipal use. We can't, we can build municipal housing on it, but we have to build it, own it, and operate it.
Right.
Well, maybe that's something we need to consider in the future.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
and where is this property?
It's adjacent to the COA, Jim.
Yeah,
if you're entering through the main door of the COA, it's the land on the other side of the parking lot.
Are you talking the old COA or the current one?
The current one.
Current one. Jim,
okay.
this is
yeah, okay. I know
the
what
land
property
that was being looked at for OCHS.
Yes, I know which property you're talking about. Right. Okay.
Okay, so
Thank
that's
you.
Yeah.
Is there any other property that we could identify now that we could throw into that discussion that's in the seashore that we could swap? Maybe we don't need to offer anything as a swap, but it just included as part of the overall package.
When I was participating in the last select board meeting or the executive session, I'm not sure where the conversation happened. Ryan was reticent to do any land swapping with the seashore. So for whatever that's worth.
It's a dead issue.
Yeah.
Okay. Shall we move on to support for creation of accessory dwelling units? We'll actually talk about something where we can make some progress.
Yes.
We are working with CDP as our housing specialists on a kind of how-to ADU handout sheet that will.
It's pretty raw at this point.
It's pretty raw right now, and we need a building inspector to bring it down to earth, and we need the Attorney General to confirm. But we are starting at least on a help sheet for people that are interested in doing it.
So, I as I read over the minutes from the last meeting, I understand the reluctance to provide any financial support for market rate units, but I think it's not premature to think about, how can we provide financial assistance in return for, say, a 15-year promise of year-round affordable housing. And I don't know, I am not the person to draw up that kind of agreement, but I think it's a good idea, to say, yes, we might be willing to release some trust funds for the creation of an ADU, provided it has this certain amount of time, maybe not perpetuity, but maybe, X amount of years, where the owner agrees to rent it affordably.
My thought on that is that as long as you can balance the value of the restriction you're getting against what you're paying for it, it certainly makes sense. If we can get a 15-year restriction at $5 by providing support that is comparable to the value of a 15-year restriction, yeah, I think that that's, you can characterize that as a legitimate expenditure for affordable housing. And if you pay more and get a permanent restriction, that's, you know, that's what we do with the buy down program. So I just think that it's not consistent with our charge to spend money for ADUs unless we get some value in return in the form.
And I'm fine with that. I feel like I would like to proceed personally with, you know, with support in terms of information and fact finding, and maybe creating support networks and a variety of different things for whoever wants to create ADUs, regardless of, you know, what they want to charge for it. But as long as it's year-round rental, you know, that's fine. But I understand the trust's position that, you know, we need assurances, or we need a binding agreement to affordability for some particular period of time or whatever. And I think that's great. So I'd love to see that move forward in some way.
I've actually been contacted by several people that are very interested in doing an ADU, and they're all local people that could use some help doing it. And in one instance, it's just creating a studio that was already approved, you know, to put in a kitchen, and the person wants to rent it affordably. You know, sort of like the CDBG loan. If we could do a loan that was, a portion of it was forgiven every year, but if you stopped doing it or sold it, you had to pay it back. I think we could have, you know, I agree with what Sharon said about the event, that it feels like people need homes now, and most of what we do takes a long time. And I see the potential of the ADU to produce things much more quickly. So I think if we could frame it that way, and start with having it be, you know, that they were basically doing an AADU. But the people I've talked to, that's what they want to do, because they've, you know, it's just come much more into their consciousness.
And as a practical matter, the dimensional restrictions on ADUs pretty much will require an affordable rent to be successful in the marketplace anyway.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But if we get assurances, then we've crossed our T's and dotted our I's.
Yeah, I could say, you know, as Elaine said, for example, a mortgage that is, say, a 15-year note, that the portion of it's forgiven every year, as long as the restriction remains in place and continues to be honored by the property owner. And if things change, it becomes an obligation that's due, and that's secured by a mortgage.
I would love to, yes, proceed that way.
There's got to be a model for things.
I was just going to say the same thing. Sharon or Elaine, maybe ask the CDP, now that ADUs are prevalent in almost all the other towns on the Cape, have any of the other towns developed a program like this that we could liberally borrow from?
Well, I mean, we did have a program to support ADUs, a $10,000 loan. We did 3 or 4 of them, but unfortunately, we said those were not forgivable, and we've had a couple of people pay them back already. But we can set that up on our own. I mean, we can choose to create that program. I mean, I think the CDBG loan is the best model.
And my understanding is that in a lot of the other towns, they didn't actually the affordable accessory dwelling unit set up as a model. So, but we do. And well, we would still be going after it as an ADU as opposed to an AADU under the previous bylaw, you know, I think it's a perfect segue for us, whereas it might not be in other towns.
So do we have something we can look at as a model to see if we can make it fit?
You know, the closest that I know of, and it's a you know, it's a sample of one, is Olga Khan's ADU, where, Elaine, do you remember who lent her the money?
I don't think it was the CDBG. I think it was something else.
It was like HUD or something, but anyway,
I'm not sure.
he actually got like $50,000 in you know, remodeling assistance to create the AADU, and after 15 years it was forgiven. I don't know, we want to do $50,000, but I'm just saying that was a model that that's the only one I know of.
I mean, the CDBG used to fund creating an affordable apartment, but they aren't right now.
Okay.
But
so that's another.
But she may have, you know, documents that would be helpful. I mean,
Okay.
Paul Pilcher wrote our agreement for our previous AADU loan, you know, so we just said what we wanted to do and created this document. I mean, it did get filed, I think, you know, at the Barnstable County, the
Registry of Deeds, yeah.
Yeah.
It doesn't seem like it should be that complicated, but I'm not a financial person, so I, you know, I defer to those.
The mechanics of it are very straightforward. I think the only question is how much funding do we provide and what do we get in return for it, and to make that decision. Because again, you know, that's a relatively inexpensive way to create an affordable housing unit, albeit a small one. And even if it has only temporary duration, it provides some immediate relief.
Right.
I know people who have lived in 400 square feet, let me know, Jason and Elizabeth, with 2 kids for many years. You know, if people do that.
Yeah, I mean, I know somebody who's very well off now, but his first home in Wellfleet was a garage.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I mean, if we could find a model, we could do a pilot program to start out.
I like that.
Okay, so where can we go to find a model? Is there somebody we can CDP?
We'll ask the CDP to look for us, as Gary said.
Okay. Is that normal Wednesday meeting still on for this Wednesday?
Yes.
Because we've also got that, and we've got that 95 Lawrence Road.
Oh, right. Okay, that's not going to work. That's not going to work.
Oh.
We'll have to cancel the CDP.
But we can always send out an email to them and just say, you know, what we're looking for. Can you help us with it? We don't have to meet for that.
Right.
Can we assign that task to a volunteer?
I'll do it.
Okay. Any more thoughts on AADUs? Or ADUs, excuse me. Hard to get that out of your brain.
My only thought is that right now I am actually in the process of trying to create an ADU, and I'm being held up by the fact that there is no building inspector. And I have carpenter, plumber, electrician all lined up for early September, and my building permit has been in the office since June 24th. And, you know, if I don't get the building permit by the time these guys are ready to start, they're going to go elsewhere because they have other.
Of course they are.
You know, they're hard to get right now, like hen's teeth.
Yep.
So
I know.
just saying, I don't feel like the town is really stepping up in support.
Okay. Next meeting, future meeting agendas. Where's my calendar?
I have a topic.
Yes, go ahead.
Harry, I met this past week with Jeff Tash to discuss the redesign of the affordable housing website. And the critical piece for the trust is the ability to accept donations via a credit card and electronic transfer. So I'd like to put that on the agenda for next week to see if in fact there is a way to do it.
Yep. Okay. Is there a date for the next meeting, or do you want to continue to talk about agenda topics? Let's see, Labor Day is the 5th. If we meet in 2 weeks, that's the 30th of August. Is that okay or too soon, or?
It's fine.
Okay.
I might not be able to do that date.
Okay.
But you guys can meet without me.
We're not married to the Monday. Is there a better date for you, Kathleen?
It's just a very tough week. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I seem to have plans every single night. It's my mom's 80th birthday, and we've got some stuff going on.
Yep. Well, family is important.
You're allowed a life.
Do we have anything urgent that we need to do it before Labor Day?
I don't think so. I mean, the following Monday is Labor Day. The Monday after that is the September 13th. And I think that would be okay considering what we have in front of us.
Just to point out, Harry, that week we're doing a number of the sessions regarding the evaluation of the RFPs for the proposals for 95 Lawrence.
Yeah, there's one that day and there is one Wednesday if my calendar's right.
And I think it's Friday as well that week.
Yes. Yeah,
Harry, I believe the one on the 15th no longer exists. Is that correct, Elaine?
That could be.
I don't know. I'm going to look at what she sent out.
Is that posted somewhere?
It will be.
Not yet.
As of a couple of days ago, it was still on there, Gary, for the 15th
and the 20th, the 15th and the 17th.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, I've got the 10th, the 13th, the 15th, and the 17th right now.
Oh, all right.
September?
Friday, Monday, Wednesday, Friday.
Yeah, in September?
Yes.
September 10th, 13th, 15th, and 17th.
Yep, that's what I have. We could still meet. I mean, that meeting on the 13th is at 10 in the morning. We could still meet in the evening.
Yeah.
Yep.
So let me just ask one thing. Are we meeting in executive session after this meeting now?
Hopefully very briefly, but yes.
So my only question is if there's anything that's that needs to be discussed in advance of the 13th.
I think the timing of that will be fine.
Okay.
Okay. Minutes of July 19th.
I'm sorry, Harry, did we set a date?
September 13th, I think we did.
I'm going to drop out. Thank you for letting me eavesdrop. It was
okay.
Great to see you all.
Thanks, Mo.
You're always welcome, Gary.
Nice to see you, Mo.
Thank you.
Mo, rather. Minutes of July 19th.
I have one comment, and I don't have it right in front of me. I'm sorry, but at one point you said something about that there was a sale of 2 buttons, 2 of my embroidered buttons, and
Yes.
And it looked like they were $500 each, but really she donated $500 for 2 buttons.
Okay, let me see.
Okay, right.
Oh. So it should say
Two buttons for a total of 500.
two
Yeah.
buttons resulted in a $500 donation.
Yes.
Let me. Other corrections?
Harry, under 2B,
Yep.
in the second sentence, you have Mr. Hood also note that Jay Norton had
Yeah.
tracked down.
That should be noted.
Correct. And then under C, it says in the second line at the end of the sentence, it says the grant is for $1.3 million for home improvement and childcare, and that should just be one word.
Childcare is one word.
Yep.
Okay. This is what a mathematics major gets you, is the inability to prove the stuff right.
And then the last sentence on the number 4.
Yep.
It says a second buy down award in the of 210. I think it should say the amount of 210.
You're right. The amount. Okay. Any more?
That's it.
Anyone else? Okay, so can I have a motion to approve the minutes as corrected?
So moved.
It's Jim. Second, anyone?
Second.
Gary, I guess. Okay, roll call. Kathleen,
Aye.
Jim,
Aye.
Elaine,
Aye.
Gary,
Aye.
Sharon,
Aye.
and the chair votes aye. So that's 6 in favor, none opposed. So that's done. Next is hopefully a very brief executive session. And so here we go. The topic is listed on the
Did
agenda.
we shut the recording off?
Yes.
Not yet.
Okay.
We got to do the preliminaries first. So the topic is listed on the agenda because we're still in open session. The board's convened in open session. The chair states that the purpose for convening the executive session is to consider the purchase, exchange, lease, or value of real property. I have a little checklist here. Chair states that the trustees will adjourn from the executive session and will not reconvene in open session. Chair states that having a discussion in open session would have detrimental effect on the trust's negotiating position. And so I'm going to take a roll call vote on a motion to adjourn the open session, reconvene in executive session, and not reconvene in open session. So can I have a motion? Oh, I'll make the motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, that's Kathleen. Roll call. Kathleen?
Aye.
Jim?
Aye.
Lane?
Aye.
Gary?
Aye.
Sharon?
Aye.
Chair votes aye, so that's 6 in favor, none opposed. So I'm going to adjourn the open session at 8:01 p.m. and I am going to stop the recording.